2, and 1. And we're live. Hey everybody, Wally DM here. Welcome to my channel. And today we have an exciting presentation for you. Joining me today with his Kickstarter going live just mere hours ago is Peter from Tales from Elsewhere. Welcome.
Thank you for having me, my friend. I'm very happy to be here.
Yes. Now, I just happened to meet you prior to Gen Con. We are in a same Discord server, and you posted that you were going to be running a game at Gen Con, and I checked it out and signed up for it, and I am really glad I did because it was, I would have to say that was my highlight of Gen Con. It was a very well-ran game. It was a lot of fun. You had a lot of great players there, some fellow YouTubers, and it was absolutely amazing.
It was a genuine pleasure to run that for you and those guys. It was so much fun. You can tell the energy is right at a table, even though most of the people there didn't know each other really before Gen Con,
right,
or like interacted. I'd never met any of them in person before. But it was just a blast. Everybody just laughing and having a great time, diving under the wagon together, everybody taking cover from gunfire under a wagon at the same time. Real bonding experience.
Now, before we get into it, I do have to ask, because you did mention that was the first time that everyone was in the same wagon or under it. Has that happened since, or we still hold the record for the most chaos?
You hold the record for most people in a wagon.
Right.
What's really fun about running the same one shot for multiple tables and is you get to see just different ways that people approach things. It's a bandit ambush while crossing the river. It's classic.
Mm-hmm.
And there's been tables that fully negotiate with the bandits and they turn it into a social scene.
Oh, wow.
And it's more about winning them over to their side than it is about engaging in the firefight. But it's otherwise, some people are just yeehaw, let's go, and they just want to pull out the gun. It's everybody just tackles it very differently. But as soon as the Blood Oilers come out, everybody has the same reaction, which is uh-oh.
Yeah. The Blood Oilers, plural, from what I remember.
Yes. One is scary enough. I just love that monster. When you added another one, people are like, okay, recontextualize the fight after the second one emerges.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was a lot of fun.
For those of you just joining us, welcome. I see a lot of people in the chat. Thank you very much for checking us out. And be sure, if you have any questions for Peter, to put them in there. Maybe some big capital letters, because my eyes are old. That just says question. And then I will try to get that and read that out loud. For those of you just joining us or unfamiliar as to what is going on, in the description below, I have a link to the Kickstarter for Tales from Elsewhere, Clockworld, and also a link to Peter's YouTube channel, so be sure to check those out. Looking at the Kickstarter right now, it looks like you're getting close to halfway. From my screen, it looks like 185 backers and about 42%?
Yep. I have like the dashboard view as the owner of it. Yeah, it's at 42% funded after under 8 hours, I think. Gosh, it was 8 a.m. this morning, my time, so 7 hours ago, which is
it's a lifetime
incredible.
It's probably a lifetime ago by now.
Yeah, this has been a very long day, and I got up at about 5 o'clock my time, 5 a.m., just because there's no way I was going to sleep in. I couldn't sleep. I needed to get up. There was a bunch of things, social media posts to prep, some of which you can't schedule ahead of time, and because I don't have one of those fancy apps that you can schedule a bunch of different socials and it posts everywhere, because I don't like social media, which is a funny thing to say as a YouTuber, and I don't have an intern that I can assign social media stuff.
Not yet. It's always
not yet.
I don't have an intern yet.
Not yet.
So the way that I've told people about this, and I could be far off on this, but my impression when I left there is this is like a Western TTRPG game meets Fallout. That's what it felt like to me with the post-apocalyptic world. Now, if you don't mind, for those that are unfamiliar, just give a general, what is this game? And just take it from there, if you don't mind.
Sure. So the underlying system to this game, the Tales from Elsewhere system, is a gritty, low fantasy type of rule system. So it favors gritty action with more realistic characters, kind of grounded characters. That's because the skill system results in the players not being able to go well beyond their capabilities of a normal person. And
Hmm.
the injury system, rather than hit points, means that the bodies of the players are more vulnerable than they might be, were there paddings of hit points in front of it. I had a person who played in one of the games said, I felt like I was made of flesh, which is
That's
a
good.
great sentence, right?
Yeah.
Where so the injury system removes some of the comfort that hit points or other more health abstractions have and
Hmm.
cuts straight to sort of gruesome details, which it gets the right reaction out of the players. So that's the rules structure underneath. It's like a rules medium, not super crunchy, pretty easy to pick up rule system. And then the Clockworld setting is, yeah, post-apocalyptic Weird West. So take a Western, add in Fallout or your favorite post-apocalyptic story.
Hmm.
It's a lot like Deadlands
Okay.
from, if you've played Deadlands, which is usually run in Savage Worlds. I love Westerns and I love horror and I love apocalyptic stories. So put them all together. And it's just that hybridization of a setting has always made me happy. Like I just love that. And it's a fairly narrow niche, right? The Weird
Hmm.
West, but it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And we do want to do other settings in the future, of course. But for now, we're going to start with my true love, which is Weird West.
So tell me a little bit about that, because there's not a lot of folks that can say one of my true loves is the U.S. West. There, how did that come
Yeah.
about? Has that always been a thing? Was there an incident that's like you
Yeah,
just
that's a
fell
great
in love
question.
with, or
So it turns out I found this out late in life, actually just within the
okay?
last year or two. Apparently, it was genetic because I was talking to one of my uncles. So,
Hmm.
long story short, my mother was the baby of the family, and so I never really met her father, my grandfather. He passed away when I was a baby. Turns out that whenever he would go and travel, years and years ago, as he was in the he was in real estate, he would take a Louis L'Amour book with him.
Oh,
Louis L'Amour is a prolific classic Western writer. And I was talking to an uncle of mine. I said, yeah, I've been reading these really fun Westerns. I've been reading some Louis L'Amour. And he said, oh, I used to read those when I was young, and so did your grandfather.
oh
I
wow.
never knew that. So apparently it's in my blood to read Westerns. But no, there was nothing in particular. I've always been a lover of film, and
Hmm.
that's been my introduction to a lot of genres initially. So, Tombstone in the
Oh
90s, which is just so good,
yeah.
a classic Western. And then I started exploring um, not so much the old school Westerns, like the John Wayne era. I was
Hmm.
more of a Italian Western, like Clint Eastwood style Western fan, and then started digging into revisionist Westerns and then horror Western. Like there's just so much there.
Yeah.
And what I love about it, I have a love of history, and Westerns are a fantasy more so, right? It is a fantasy we're telling about the
Hmm.
time period, really, in the end, right? It's
Hmm.
our own retelling of part of our history and often leaving the history out. But I love the historical details in period pieces, like the attire and the weaponry and all that. So I just
Yeah.
really started loving it. And Westerns are a romantic genre. Classic Westerns, like what Louis L'Amour often writes about, is justice wins in the end. People who are good and honorable, they succeed often when corruption stands in the way, right? The
Right.
classic, you know, the business tycoon comes to buy up all the ranches and hires the bandits to drive everybody out. But one man, right, stands against it
Right.
and cleans up town, right? That is, I think, really appealing um,
I
to
love that.
have something like that. So I've just always loved it. And then
Yeah.
horror, maybe I was shown some movies that weren't great age appropriate content when I was little, like watching Hellraiser when I'm 11 years old. These kind of things maybe influenced me in the long run.
Yeah.
A kid probably shouldn't watch RoboCop and Alien and all that. Maybe a little bit young.
Alien, when I was young, that movie scared the crap out of me. I had nightmares about that forever. That
Yeah.
one and American Werewolf in London too. I'm just like,
Oh
oh
yeah,
my god, oh my god,
classics.
yeah, classics. It's
Alien's
just
one of
like,
the
whew,
greatest sci-fi horror movies of
oh
all
my
time,
goodness,
easily. I
yeah,
ended up working at Blockbuster Video in college, and so I became a big movie guy during that time because you can just watch as many movies as you want. But yeah, Alien and The Thing were
oh yeah.
both incredibly formative for me from a horror standpoint. I love science fiction horror. Um, yeah. Anyway,
Very
I could
cool.
go on about all that, but yeah, I'm a big reader, and then I started getting into reading
Yeah.
Westerns a little bit later on in life, more when I started working on this project more seriously.
Nice. I do have a question from the chat from Stinky Soul, and I'm going to combine these actually. How long have you been playing, and do you play any other games? So what I actually like to ask you is, when did you start playing TTRPGs,
Yep.
and when did Tales from Elsewhere? When did you know that this was something that you wanted to do? You wanted to do this Western RPG.
Right. So I started playing tabletop role-playing games with the launch of third edition D&D, which is the year 2000, so about 25 years ago. And I was a teenager at the time, which is a perfect time to start getting into D&D. Just definitely increases one's popularity in the early 2000s. In the era before, nerddom was less cool then. Maybe
I was going to say your era of popularity and mine in the 80s, two totally different things.
Yes.
That is not what you did to be popular in my era.
Oh boy, trust me, it still wasn't that great in the year 2000.
Yeah.
Fortunately, we were mostly out of the satanic panic by then, but it's still, we were in the shadow of it. I even had a friend who like had to hide his Magic the Gathering cards.
Oh, yeah. I've heard about that. Yeah.
You know, because it still kind of had the shadow looming over. But I had been in like hobby gaming before that. Like I played Magic the Gathering when I was, you know, I was into nerd stuff. And then I got introduced to it by a family member while traveling. Older cousin said, "Hey, we're stuck in this cabin in Wisconsin for a couple weeks." Brings out his brand new third edition Player's Handbook, and I was like, "I'm hooked on this for the rest of my life."
It is life changing. Yeah. I get it.
Went home, bought the books, had my friends come over. Guys, this is what our lives are now. It's this book. So just been super passionate about it ever since. Running games, playing it. Mostly D&D over that time, as it's like the big name.
Oh, yeah.
And still love D&D as a player. I don't DM as much D&D anymore. If I'm going to run something, I want to run my game, you know, shockingly. But after a lot of years, I was homebrewing D&D. I often liked to run horror, and I would just do so in D&D because it's what my friends were accustomed to. But it was, gosh, like a decade ago, I started fiddling with creating my own system, initially based off of Cyberpunk 2020, which is not everyone's favorite Cyberpunk edition. It's a weird one from the late 90s, and it's way too crunchy, but it's kind of beautiful, honestly. And I started to go on a design journey there, iterating on a game idea just here and there. You know, I was just working, you know, graduated college and, you know, finding my way out in the world. And then it wasn't until I had picked up and dropped the game for a while, multiple times, when my good buddy, who's been helping me on the project since day one, he said, you should build like a better health system for your game. Like, because the HP wasn't working. Like for our design goals, HP wasn't really hitting the notes we needed. And because for the whole time I was just using basically hit points. And so after a lot of iteration, I created that injury system. And then I was like, now we have a game. Like this is now something different.
Yeah.
Right. Like now I felt like this is something worthwhile.
Did you feel like that pull to create?
Oh, yeah.
It's just like, okay, I like to play these games. Now it's time to make my own.
Yeah, well, it was there wasn't a game out there that played exactly what I wanted, and I wasn't sure what I wanted either. So I kept iterating and experimenting. I made whole drafts. Like we're talking 80 to 100 page rule books that were scrapped. I had to build it out to see if I liked it. Tried running it and like, well, you know, that wasn't the answer. But once I had that injury system in place, the rest of the game fell into place.
That's awesome.
So much easier. It unlocked the rest of the game, and it felt like it was something worth sharing once I had it ready. Once that was discovered, it was like a eureka moment.
Now I don't want to jump ahead or all over the place, but I'm probably going to do that anyway. I want to talk about that injury system because you had mentioned in your live stream that you can have like headshots, you can like lose limbs. Where's your cure light wounds after that? How do you read that as a player character? What happens if they have to apply a tourniquet?
Where's my cure spell? Where's my healing potion? Yeah.
I was wondering that in our one shot at Gen Con too. Just like what happens if we get shot in the face and we're still living? So how exactly does that injury system work in this game?
Yeah, it's a great question. So and I'm going to run with it because
Yeah.
injury systems and wound systems, one of the big drawbacks that's often cited is what's called the death spiral,
Mm.
right? Where as the player gets wounded, they become less effective at defending themselves, and therefore they become more wounded. So they get worse at defending themselves, become more wounded, and then they're dead, right? It's unfun as you spiral downward.
Yeah.
And so the main way that my game avoids this is that each wound you get is this packet of consequences, right? Like I'm bleeding out from my arm and I can't use it. But that injury can be treated and you check the box next to it. And now you ignore those complications. You're no longer bleeding. You can use your arm again,
Hmm.
but you don't erase it.
Oh.
And so to avoid the death spiral, these complications are things you triage mid fight and you can prevent those negative effects from impeding you. But
Hmm.
you can only do this so many times before you die because your wound slots start to fill up.
Mm.
So if a player gets hit in the head and gets some lethal injury, they need to be very, they can get bandaged up, but there'll be, be careful because you can't take a second one. um, but on the subject of players dying, one of the big design goals is actually in the monsters.
Okay.
That's almost more, you have more control over player health and your monster design. Because if the monsters don't necessarily want to kill a player, then the fact that they're closer to death isn't what's scary. It's that they could be abducted. Like the Blood Oilers
Oh
actually
boy. Here
don't
we go
want to
back.
kill the player. They
Back
want
to
to
the blood
take
oils.
you back to the Blood Oilers, right? So, or the Coal Baron, which wasn't in that playtest, doesn't want to kill you, wants to tempt you
Mm.
into signing a pact with it like a devil, right?
Nice.
Um, so it's making it so the players are at risk not just from the direct confrontation, but some sort of other goal or objective that is to be avoided, like freeing somebody from the pinned in the wagon in the river, right? So in play, it feels very deadly, but the players, from my experience, have felt like they have a lot of agency over success and failure and their own risk and reward, right? How much they
Hmm.
want to risk, how close do they want to get to those blood oilers, right? Or do we just dynamite it and call it a day, right?
Hey, if dynamite's an option, I'm taking that 100%.
Yeah, there is. So the game has edges, which are like feats. One of them lets you craft dynamite like
Uh-huh.
out in the wilderness, and it's very popular because a lot of people are like, "Nope, throw the dynamite in. We're not dealing with it."
There you go. I'm sure this is one from your area of YouTube. Squirrel Plays is asking you specifically, what can you not have without cornbread? So I
The
think that's an
answer,
inside joke.
it is. It's from a live play the other day. It's making me laugh. Beans. I know you have to have beans with cornbread. So Scrat is an authentic Southerner, and he has been teaching me uh, about his culture.
Okay.
But yeah, that's from a live play that he was in. Gosh, a week ago at this point now, maybe. Time has been strange lately, where his character silenced his revolver for like one shot by putting a can of beans over it.
I love that. I really
Yeah.
do. um, so now that we've opened up like the injury system and healing and stuff, that makes me think of clerics, and clerics make me think of what type of characters can you build in this system? Are
Oh,
there?
right.
I remember we had a reverend with us. I remember we had a few tanks. Um, what are we looking at from the player's perspective? If you could go over a few
Mhm.
of those.
Yeah, definitely. And to tie it also back to healing, there is no like magical healing in the game at all, right?
Oof, good.
There's almost nothing that removes an injury once it's on your sheet until you rest. And if there is something that removes it, it's probably some dark black market, chemical you've bought from a shady dealer that's derived from some monster. So like use it at your, it's, use it, user discretion is advised. Um, but as far as character creation, the rules, like when you played, we were using pre-gens,
Hmm.
but the pre-gens are built using the same rules that you would make for your custom character. And
Okay.
the idea is that there's 50 different backstory elements, a mixture of professions, cultures, and inciting incidents. And rather than having a class that tells you what abilities you have, instead you piece it together from different story elements that then tell you which options you can pick.
Oh.
So yeah, you can be preachers and lawman and shaman and frontiersman. You could be a saloon owner, right? All those kind of classic professions that you'd expect in the Wild West.
Mhm.
You can be part of a cult as your culture. You could be from, the wilderness or from a big city on a ranch, all these different people you can be a part of. And the inciting incidents are things like you lost it all, or you're on the run, or you're hunting somebody down, right? And so you pick these all together, and that tells you what skills and equipment and edges you start with from a list. So you played Lady Jane.
No, I played Minor.
Oh, yeah,
Minor.
mine with the big. So
Yes.
mine
Hmm.
was a tradesperson
Okay.
who culture was a Gandhi dancer, which is a historical 19th century term for somebody who lives and works along a rail line, right? They're itinerant, like whole itinerant towns that
Okay.
like just move down the line. And his incident was he escaped the Oilers.
Oh yeah, I
So,
remember that.
right. So you pick these three things, then it says, okay, you can pick like these categories of edges, you can have these different skills, piece it all together to make your character.
Mm.
You could pick those the same three story elements and have a totally different build because there's just a bunch of options beneath it.
Mm-hmm.
While the Reverend was a preacher for his profession,
Right.
his culture was the Church of Ashes, which is one of the main religions in the setting, and his incident was he's on the hunt. Uh,
Oh.
and what's neat is that being able to use firearms is not something every profession or character would have, right? You'd
Mm-hmm.
need to have a reason. So being a preacher and part of this church wouldn't let the reverend shoot his shotgun really well. But because he's on the hunt, that gives him access to the range skill.
Mm.
So you can really find your build's power in different places. It doesn't have to be your class, like your profession. It could be what you survived that defines you more. And so
That's
it's
pretty
very
cool.
free form like that. It's very cool. Yeah.
Now I remember Frank from What Is Tabletop was there, and he was playing a unique character, and I was like fascinated with
Yes.
what was going on with his. What type of a build was that? Because
Yeah,
there was
he
like
was
shape
playing.
shifting involved.
There
If I
was.
yes,
Yeah, so he was playing the pre-gen Yun, Fan Yunshin, and
okay,
her build was an occultist, so like studies the occult.
okay,
Her culture was the Exodus cult. She was part of the evil cult.
okay,
Her story was that she was actually an undercover agent, but got in too deep.
hmm,
And her inciting incident was on the run. She's fleeing that cult. Now, because had these dealings with a cult, she could pick a supernatural edge. So a supernatural ability,
that's
of
awesome.
which some characters can have access to. The Reverend could as well. His ability to bless weapons was supernatural because he was part of the church. But Yun took the monstrous transformation edge, which exhausts you really quickly, but turns you into like an eldritch horror temporarily. So there's
Wow.
definitely supernatural things you can do, but you have to have it as part of your backstory as to why you would be able to do that. So you can't just be like, I'm a saloon owner who's from the big city, who's just wandering the world. None of that would give you a supernatural ability. So you
Hmm.
can't start with one, right?
Wow,
You have to make it part of your story. So Yun has very much part of supernatural things are in her backstory. And so she was able to pick that.
that was really cool.
Yeah, so
Now,
she's cool.
so there's all these cool elements to be able to build a very unique character in this setting. Is there a way to level up?
It's a great
Do you
question.
get experience points? Do you get more abilities? How does that happen?
Yeah. So one of the more controversial decisions I have in the game is it's what's called horizontal progression.
Okay.
The skills you chose can only be shifted around if you don't like your build, but they never increase.
Oh.
Your skills are from a lifetime of learning and training and hardship, and those don't shift really. And what you gain are more edges. You can pick from any category too, so you can start gaining more features, but
Hmm.
you don't become numerically superior to anything you encounter. There is an optional rule in the back for a more traditional progression. It uses milestones. Basically, when you make it back to town after a couple sessions, you gain a new edge. That's the core structure. But there are optional rules if you do want your skills to go up over time, or maybe you want the characters to start off a little weaker and build. Like there's options for that. But the intention is that the players get more gear and they gain new edges as their form of progression. They become better prepared. They don't actually get stronger, which means no matter what session you're on, you could use any monster in the book because you never out-level them or you're never under-leveled for them. So the whole 60 threat entries you could use at any time.
That's really cool.
So it means that super long-form campaigns don't work super well, right? If people want numerical progression.
Right.
But I ran, I think it was 12 to 15 session games where the progression still felt really good that whole time for that type of gameplay experience.
Yeah. So leveling up is just getting in-world experience, basically. Yeah.
You're getting
Experience
new edges over things. Yeah.
Maybe some renown as you go too. I mean,
yeah.
maybe...
Your vendors, the vendors can get better supply and be more likely to have rarer things. That's actually like a built-in mechanic. It's a little like West March's roguelite kind of structure, how the vendors work, which you don't really see in the one-shots.
Right.
Yeah, the world, you can help the world grow rather than you becoming starting out as a farmer and ending up a god slayer, right? You're never going to do that. You'll always be afraid of what lurks out there in this game.
Makes sense. A few questions, or well, my favorite one so far is Frank asks, "Hey, what did I miss?" Sorry, Frank, we were just talking about you and your character you played. You totally missed it. You have to rewatch that.
Yeah, yeah, we were just talking about Yun and how you played her, and
Yeah.
it was awesome in our in-person game at Gen Con. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. Another question there is Great Mustache, one of my friends and patrons of the channel, asks, when are we going to see a Wally DM puzzle in Tales from Elsewhere?
Oh, heck yeah. Oh, we're talking.
Which we had discussed before, and I would still very much like to, once I get a better grasp on the system, I would like to write a adventure for this.
Oh yeah, so on board with that.
That would be very, very cool. So I guess that could actually lead into another question as to if someone wanted to create adventures, or if someone wanted to create content and publish it like on a drive-through RPG. How do you see that kind of happening? Is that welcoming in your eyes, or?
Yeah, that's a great question. Like we were talking about kind of off stream, I'm a big believer in the community.
Yeah.
Right. And so long story short, I'm going to be modeling the license for Tales from Elsewhere as a game based on like Morkborg or Shadowdark. Super permissive, super open, where as long as you, and there's going to be an SRD, like a free SRD reference of the basic rules. And it says you can use any of these and write whatever content you want and sell it. What you can't do is use my art, use the rules from my book itself. You can't use, copy paste the stories I've written, right? The stuff that's actually the intellectual property of Tales from Elsewhere. But making adventures or settings or supplements, oh, heck yeah. I can't wait to see what people are going to build.
Yeah.
So yeah, the license will just be, hey, just cite that this is compatible with my game, and then have at it, sell it however you want. Don't have to pay us a penny to do that. I firmly believe in, especially as an indie designer, that it's the community that makes the game possible in the first place.
Right.
And it's the community that keeps it alive long term. So, oh yeah. And we're going to have all that up on the website
Cool.
by the end of we want like Q1 2026 would be the latest we'd want to have that done, because we already have a draft of it. It's just got to, I got to actually run it by an attorney and do all the, you got to do all that business stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, for those that would be interested, it's super permissive. You'll be able to do whatever you want with it, write adventures, add new like features or edges or backstories or something and sell it to monsters. Yeah, whatever you want, as long as you're not actually like taking the words out of the book and just using the SRD. Totally cool, because the artists and such, we have to protect that intellectual property, of course.
Yeah, that's
so yeah, I really want to see you make like a murder dungeon or something, right? Well, for trap design, right? Well, it's so in a game like D&D, with hit points or just hit point based systems versus wounds. So there's something very visceral when a player steps in a bear trap in my game. Right?
It's gonna hurt.
Yeah, when it's not like, okay, you take 10 damage and you have to pry it open. It's like your leg is maimed from this bear trap and you're bleeding to death and people are trying to pry it open. It's suddenly like really, I don't know, gruesome and intense. So there's something very cool about how visceral you can make otherwise mundane things, like things that people have almost been taught to think isn't threatening,
Hmm.
like falling down a pit onto spikes. In D&D, you take some damage.
Yeah.
Like in my game, oh my gosh, falling onto a bed of spikes is really bad in my game, right? I've already seen players have much more fear of otherwise mundane traps
Yeah.
in my own sessions at home. So
Oh.
really would be excited to see what sort of puzzles and traps you build.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I have a few ideas in mind already, even though it's like I need to, I have a lot of other stuff I need to finish first. I've still been thinking about it.
Yeah, I'm glad. Yeah, that's going to be super fun to see what other
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
use it for. Right.
Yeah, exactly. Now, for those of you just joining us, thank you very much. We are speaking with Peter from Tales from Elsewhere. He has a YouTube channel, and we have just witnessed the Kickstarter kicking off today for Tales from Elsewhere Clockworld. This is a fantastic game that you're going to want to get your hands on. So make sure you check out the description below, click all the links, and take a look for yourself. And I believe is there like a starter pack or a quick start thing that they can
Yeah.
download?
Yep, there is.
Okay.
Right now there is a quick start packet that has the rules you need to play, 6 pre-gens, which you can print in fancy gatefold versions like you had at Gen Con.
Oh yeah.
And as an adventure in the quick start. There's an additional adventure I wrote that's just in that packet as well. Both of them are one shots. There's also a separate playtest packet that if you want to try making your own characters, it has a document you can use that has a less than half of the available options. So you can get an impression on the type of system you're dealing with. Now, those layouts were made by me and they look all right, but
I thought
please
they
do
looked
not
really
consider
good.
them indicative of the final. I always say graphic design is not my passion, and those took me forever. But they at least are readable and clean looking. They're going to look even better once our layout designer actually goes through. And you can see, so what you're seeing here isn't from my playtest. This is the mock-up made
Oh,
by by our layout designer in the actual quick start like adventure thing. It's much simpler. So this preview
I was gonna say,
document you
man, that
have up
looks really
here.
good. I don't know what you're
Oh
talking
yeah.
about.
So the one that we have up on the screen, so I realized
Yeah.
you have, I should have the stream open. That one is made by our layout designer, Jenna Figures,
Yeah, it looks really good,
who
man.
it's amazing. She
Yeah.
injected this whole like acid west sort of
Hmm.
vibe to it, right? With the purples and the orange and the red, and just to
Very
gush,
sundownish,
yeah, like
over.
sundown in New
Hmm.
Mexico or
Hmm.
something, right? To
Yeah.
kind of gush about her work just briefly here.
Oh,
Um,
definitely.
what I notice a lot of Wild West or Western books do is they just make everything brown,
Mm.
like dusty and brown. It's all black and white and brown because, it's like cowboy
Gold
stuff.
West. Yeah.
Yeah. But when she came back with her initial mock-ups and I saw the color, she gave me an option that was the browns, right? The grays and the browns. And I thought, nope, the color. This looks incredible. Let's go
Hmm.
with the color. Let's make it acidy and vibrant. And it just makes it feel so different. And now that vendor page you saw there, the one that was black and white, like
Oh
very
yeah, yeah.
simple in color,
Hmm.
this is a mock-up of, these are meant to be printable,
Oh.
actually. The vendor system, you're meant to be able to print them out like little magazine pages. And so you can hand them to the players and they can go shopping,
Oh, that's awesome.
which is fun. So those ones are purposely going to be mostly black and white or grayscale.
Makes sense.
So that's all the quick start stuff. There's some packets. You can just play the game with that. It's got the simple version of the rules. It's very cut down. For everybody who backs the campaign at the PDF tier or higher, we will be releasing a beta that's basically the content complete game if you backed it, because it's going to take a while for the artists to finish, right?
Makes sense.
We don't want
Yeah.
people to be like, well, I'm never going to play this game until next year. But instead, we're going to basically say, like, hey, this hasn't been edited. We haven't finished with layouts, doesn't have the art yet, but here's the game rules that people will be able to immediately start playing and even planning if they want to write their own content for, because then around that same time is when we'll release the SRD and our game license.
That's
so
awesome.
It'll be available to, a draft is going to go out to everybody that'll still be, 300 something pages. if they've already bought into it.
Oh, that's crazy. That's really, really good.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I am super looking forward to this book. I want to get to the monsters in a little bit, but a few more questions before we do, because I mean the monsters are going to be awesome for sure. Tell me about the dice. How do you determine things in this game?
Yeah.
How do you shoot? How do you roll? How do you
Yep.
how does it work?
Great question.
Hmm.
The There's only two types of die rolls in the whole game. There are
Okay.
skill tests and injury rolls. Everything you do is a skill test. Anytime you need to determine how badly you hurt somebody, it's an injury roll. So a skill test, if I pull out my gun and shoot a bandit, if I want to climb a tree or lie to guards, that's all just considered a skill test. You roll 1d10 and you add the relevant bonus from a skill. So for example, when you were playing mine
Hmm.
is a master in the might skill. So
Hmm.
he adds +6. So if you ever want to do anything involving being a big, strong dude, you just roll a d10 and add 6 to that.
Like climb a
But
mountain,
yeah, pick
climb
up
a
a mountain,
cliff.
why
Yeah.
not? Yeah, and so the players always know the target number they need to hit, it's meet or beat,
Hmm.
before they roll. It's one of the tenets of the game.
Nice.
The GM articulates the challenge to the players so that they can properly threat assess that. So if in the session I say, okay, helping lift this overturned wagon might be a master rank test, which means it's a 10 or higher. So mine would say like, okay, I have a pretty good chance of that. I'll roll a d10 and add 6, means I have
Hmm.
like a 70% chance. And if I get 10 or more, I succeed. You don't need to check with the GM after that. If you get 10 or more, you succeed. And everything is built on this very linear, flat math in that way. Natural ones on your d10 don't automatically fail, and natural 10s don't automatically succeed. That's because if you get picked up by a blood oiler and he's choking the life out of you, it might be you need an inhuman test to succeed, to escape, which would be a 14 or higher. Well, mine could pry his way out. He has a decent chance with
Hmm.
+6, but Lady Jane, one of the other pre-gens, she has a +0 in might. She
Oof.
literally can't escape on her own. She needs help. And other players could help reduce the difficulty or try to help break her out.
Hmm.
So the idea is that there are some characters that could not succeed on something without assistance. So they have to figure it out together. While there's some things that mine can't fail to do because a natural 1 doesn't automatically fail. So if I say this is a novice rank skill test, you need a 6 or higher, mine looks at a sheet, can't fail it. I
I
have
love that.
+6.
Yeah.
So it creates a floor and a ceiling for each character
Yeah.
that you have to work together in a shared turn to resolve. So that's the skill test.
I like that.
Very simple. It's a lot like, a D&D game where, you're rolling high trying to hit a target number.
Yeah.
The
Uh,
injury system, though. Oh, sorry, do you have a question?
oh, no, no, no. You go ahead. Nope.
Oh, yeah. So the injury system, since there's not health, like hit points, the injury roll is how you determine the severity of the injury. And you roll a pool of dice. The size of the dice is based on the weapon you're using. And the number is based on how good you are at this relevant skill.
Okay.
So if I aim my revolver and shoot at somebody and happen to hurt them, I'd roll d8s for a 6 shooter. And if I'm a master at it, I'll roll 4 of them. You look for the lowest single result. If it's a 4 or higher, then it's only strain. It's like a graze. Doesn't
Okay.
do anything. If it's a 2 or a 3, it's a serious injury, which is now we're talking wounds here,
Hmm.
right? Something bad has happened to you. And if it's a natural 1, if it's a 1, it's a critical injury. And the reason you're looking for the lowest results is because then the number you're looking for never changes based on what dice you're rolling. If I'm rolling a d6 or a d8 or a d12 or d20, I'm always looking for the same results. 1s for criticals, 2 and 3 for serious, 4 or higher. And it means the bigger the dice, the worse it is as a weapon. The d20 is the most clumsy weapon. That's punching. Like it's almost has no
Okay.
chance of actually hurting somebody because you're looking for the lowest number.
Mm.
The preacher's coach gun, right, big double barrel coach gun, is a d6. It's very likely to hurt somebody because the chances of getting a 1, 2, or a 3 are very high.
That makes sense. I like that.
And so
So,
with the body targeting,
mhm.
you can choose to try to wound a limb. And now that limb would be disabled, right? You could shoot the gun hand of the bandit so they drop their gun and can't
Mhm.
use that hand. And you can go for like the ace, as we call it, like shooting them in the heart or the head, somewhere very vulnerable, which is even harder to do. But if you succeed, it upgrades the severity of that injury. So if you would have just rolled a strain, it becomes a serious injury. If it was a serious, it becomes critical. And if you rolled that one, it actually becomes a lethal injury,
Mm.
potentially one-shotting something, right? And that's intentional. That one good hit could take down a monster if you know what you're doing
Except
and
the
you
blood
set things up
oiler.
right. Yeah, the blood oilers go into their death throes if you like decapitate them, and they'll just keep, for another turn they
Yeah.
go berserk. Yeah, some things are resistant or harder to kill. In one of our internal tests, Tim, who's in the chat,
Mhm.
he made a sniper character, had like a buffalo rifle, and he'd go sit up on a hill, and his whole build was wait to make one good shot, and then just
Nice.
delete one foe. But he could only do this like once every other turn, really, because he had to set up, take careful aim, and then shoot. Right. So you
Yeah.
can. It's not about max number of attacks necessarily. It's about planning to take things down.
Nice. I
Yes,
was
that's
I was
cool.
going to reach behind me because I do have a couple of the bullet dice
Oh, the
from
bullet
the
dice.
yeah
Oh, I have on
I
my desk.
but I realized that probably not gonna be able to see that on the live stream anyway.
Yeah.
But they're
There's
back
a
there. They're back there somewhere behind this map that we'll
yeah.
get to in a minute as well.
Yeah, those
Uh,
bullet dice are so fun with the little injury results on the dice
yeah,
itself. It's super
yeah,
cool.
really cool. We have mentioned blood oiler quite a bit. That's
Yeah.
probably because I might have a little bit of PTSD getting on top of the cliff where the
Yeah.
waterfall was coming down. We had one blood oiler that we're dealing with, and we're doing just fine until you decided that there were a few more on their way. What is this monster, and why do I fear it so much?
That, yeah, the blood oiler is not surprisingly probably my favorite monster from the
Okay.
setting, and it's because it ticks all of the boxes that I want my game to exemplify when it comes to monster design, which is something like a Terminator, right? Something scary and brutal and violent that threatens the players like bodily,
Mm,
in a very visceral way. But also because they want to abduct, it puts this pressure like, oh no, they could escape with one of us. So the Blood Oilers are large clockwork zombie monsters, right? They're these cybernetic monstrosities with multiple arms, saw blades, and syringes, and harpoons, and barbed wire tentacles. You can customize them when you run. They're basically, there's 6 or 7 arms you can pick from, and you just mix and match them when you're going to run them. And their goal is to like maim and then abduct,
mm-hmm.
and to take people away to turn them into more blood oilers. And what they are inspired by the rapaciousness of industrialization, right?
Okay.
19th century, this was a very big concern. Oil fields and the machine was devouring, right, the natural world. This
Mm-hmm.
is on their mind at the late 19th century. And so the blood oiler is that corruptive, consumptive aspect of the industrial revolution. So it's like
That's super cool.
emblematic of that sort of fear and how it changes people and corrupts them as well. And then mechanically, the reason why they're so effective, I think, is because they make the players think in the way that I want them to in my game. What I
Mm-hmm.
mean by that is it really forces them to threat assess the enemy. A blood oiler enters the scene. They need to check what arms it has. And then the players need to say, okay, do we try to kill it fast? Or is one of those arms particularly dangerous to us right now? And maybe we try to shoot that arm first. Or
Interesting.
it's grabbed an NPC, but that NPC was a bandit. Maybe we don't care. Maybe we let them get away with them, right? The players have to engage with the biology and motivation of this monster when they face it to properly combat it.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they have to cut their losses, right? Because they can become overwhelming when there's more of them. So they just really like tick these boxes. In the live stream I did yesterday of a session, 3 players, there was one blood oiler. One ran up and dismantled one of its arms because it had a rail spike driving gun that shot
Oh
giant rail
my
spikes.
goodness.
Another one came and knocked a leg out, so it got kind of lower. and then one ended up like prying its head off or something really like they just had to dismantle the thing. And even then, it still has one turn of death throws where it was just
Yeah.
swinging its saw blade around randomly. And
They
so it's this coordinated effort to take one down.
wow.
It's just
They
like,
they didn't even care about voiding the warranty on that. I mean, that's just gonna
no, yeah, no, that warranty is void. Yeah, so that's what I like about this monster from a mechanics and storytelling standpoint. Is it just it ticks all the stuff I want from my game and what I want the players to experience. That feeling
yeah.
of maybe we could take this down,
Hmm.
but it's gonna hurt
Yeah.
along that way.
In our game at Gen Con, you portrayed that very, very well. It's just like
Oh, thank you.
we were tactically looking at the one and making decisions until I was like, hey, by the way, there's more coming.
Yeah, and then you
kind of
have to
expect it. Then it's just
recontextualize.
like,
Like,
oh,
okay,
okay, never mind.
yeah, that first Euler is there to show how
Yeah,
much effort it takes to kill one.
yeah,
And then
yeah.
you can escalate as the GM, right?
Oh
You can
yeah,
like, okay, time to crank it up. I'm all about escalation,
yeah. I've seen
and
that.
it makes recalling a blood oiler later. So
Yeah.
after you guys survived the river crossing, let's say we're playing in a campaign,
Hmm.
and sessions later, months later, maybe of real world time, and then you discover that like this new town has been built next to a nest of oilers. Like there's an
Oh my
abandoned mine, and you
gosh.
know that there's oilers there. So you think, okay, we know we can't like let that stand. What do we do? Do we try to dynamite it? Right? You because
Yeah.
they know how scary they are. And if there's a colony of them nearby,
Oh
that's
man.
like a, oh, we got to go down, guys. you know. And I did that in a long form campaign. Like the climactic scene was basically a dungeon that was the Blood Oilers' lair,
Oh my.
and they had like a cart full of gunpowder and dynamite. Just like we got to blow it up. we got to
Goodness
find a way to
gracious.
blow it up. But that only works if you that first encounter is punchy enough,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, that's horrifying. Speaking of which, the Great Mustache says, question, when do we get Blood Oiler plushies so we can see Wally cuddle with it?
I want you know this is not the first time somebody's asked about that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, what my dream of a Blood Oiler plushie is that it comes with different Velcro arms, and you can
Oh, yeah,
customize its
that's good.
plushie arms.
That's good.
Like one's a little saw blade, one's the
Hmm.
syringe, That would be so cool. There's so much physical media I would love to make.
Hmm.
It's a bandwidth thing
Oh,
right
yeah.
now, but
Yeah,
just imagine
understandable.
it, right? Your little Blood Oiler, and you could
Hmm.
change its parts out. It'd be so good.
That would
That's
be
gonna
good.
happen someday. Someday I will make that happen. I don't know how or when, but it's
Yeah.
happening.
I was thinking, Great Mustache says, yeah, body pillow. That's exactly what I was thinking as well. I was just like, oh my goodness.
Well, funny you should mention that. I don't know if
Oh
Great
no.
Mustache you watched yesterday's live stream where I had some YouTubers on, but they did the language F Mary Kill. One of the
Mm.
players in fiction was talking about like which monsters would be which. It's like it's the strangest thing. Like, where does the blood oiler fit in that? I'm like, no, guys, kill all of them.
Don't do it.
Don't do it, guys.
So that draws me back to the memory there from Gen Con, because and the next question I want to ask you is going to derive from that, because it seemed like this isn't just a Western game, and it's not just a horror game. You had elements from I believe you told us that this took place 100 years after the apocalyptic events of the Western, because we had Tesla rods,
Yeah.
we had motorcycles. So, what kind of other, for those that are thinking this is a Western game or just a horror
Right.
game, what kind of technologies are we looking at? I mean, what are, maybe they're not in the book, but what do you envision in this world?
Oh yeah, and don't worry, it will all be in the book. But
Okay.
so the story is this was a world not so different from our own, not necessarily ours. And so in this world, by the end of the 19th century, it was more of a steampunk society that they were more advanced in that way, and that classic sort of Victorian steampunk vibe. So they had like robots and steam powered vehicles of all sorts of things. So they were more advanced. But that civilization fell, and the whole world effectively was destroyed. And so now a couple generations have passed, right? A handful of generations have passed, and people are relearning and trying to recapture some of that technology. So a lot of it is like the motorcycle,
Hmm.
hard to get it to work because they only understand the basics still. They can like jury rig up some labor robots here and there, but they're all rickety. And so it's the shadow of a more advanced civilization. And that previous civilization, the limits of its technology are left purposefully open-ended
Okay.
because I think it's more fun for an individual table to decide on what that was.
Mhm.
And maybe that DM has really cool ideas about some crazy tech that they had made. It's all on the table there because it's all gone and it's out in the ruination. And there's a whole adventure could be go out to try to find new technology, right?
Right.
So your classic, dirigibles flying in the sky and, steampunk robots, that whole vibe is what was there before. And now it's mostly just six shooters, and occasionally you get things like that Tesla rod as a weapon,
Well, that's
right?
pretty
But a
cool.
lot
Yeah.
of it is a shadow of what it used to be.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah.
I think you're kind of going into the territory I want to go to next, but I have to show this off.
Ah, the map.
Yes.
Yes.
So this was. Tell us about this. I've had it framed. I've got signatures. Everybody that played in our
Yeah.
game on Gen Con signed it, and it's going to go up on my wall. But before I did, I wanted to share it with everybody. But this is a map of Tales from Elsewhere, Clockworld, and you have purposely filled in like the middle of it, but then the areas off to the left and to the right are open to. I mean, it's undiscovered
Yeah.
if I remember correctly. So
Yeah, that's correct.
yeah. So my questions for you on this map. Let's do these in three parts. Tell us
Yep.
about your favorite section. Tell us a little bit about where it might be in the world, and then what lies beyond.
Yeah, that's a great question. So, yeah, my one of my favorite parts of that map is, and I know exactly where it is. I have the whole map in my brain, of course. Is this place called Fort Sangravita, which is on the western edge of the central county, Plains County.
Okay.
And the whole civilization is this vertical line because on the map there's natural barriers that protect against monster incursion. To the east is the mighty Chesapeake River, which is like the Mississippi. And so most of civilization is on the inside of that because it helps protect them. And on the west, there's mountain ranges and rivers that are help protecting it as well. So Fort Sangravita is this remote edge of the west fort, constantly besieged. And it's such a great jumping off point for adventure, right? It's looking out across a river, the ruination is right out there, and its treasures may be awaiting. And so that's one of my favorite spots is Fort Sangravita, this lonely fort. And that's one of the vignettes is this lonely fort on a hill that the artist
I
drew.
like that.
Yeah, but there's a lot of blank spots on the map because when you write a world from an omniscient narrator's perspective,
Mm-hmm.
it removes mystery, I think,
Makes
from
sense.
the world. And it's why all of the monsters don't have a definitive reason that they exist. It has theories from people in the world of why this comes to be. Because I know some people out there who've say, been playing D&D for a long time. There was a time where I probably I could name every monster in the third 3.5 edition monster manual and all of its stats, right?
Yeah.
It's a known quantity. So leaving ambiguity actually keeps the danger alive. So a player who's a super fan and has read the whole rule book, when they sit down at a table and that GM has an adventure where you go into the ruination, they don't know what they're going to encounter. Could be anything. Like what's in the Spider Lakes in the Northeast? I don't know. Sounds awful though, right?
It does.
Sounds absolutely awful. But the rule book in the world building section isn't going to tell you here's the monsters you'll find in Spider Lakes. Here's the random table for the monsters you should fight there. Like here's the hazards you'll encounter. It doesn't say that. And instead it's more of a here's how you could be inspired to build something of your own to be placed there. Or like the Dagger Pan, right? A flatland in the Northwest. What's in there? I don't know. Right? Sounds dangerous though, right?
It does.
And so keeping some of that open, and then you define towns.
Mm-hmm.
Like major towns can be a home base; those could be fleshed out, so you always have a place to come back to more definitively. But then there's spaces between those towns. Are those the only towns that exist? No, no, no. There's other stops on that railroad. Why not add them in? I like leaving a little bit of flexibility there.
Two things. Frank says, yeah, Wally outrolled me on that map. Yeah, sorry
Yeah.
about that, Frank.
We will put the maps on the website someday for
Yeah,
printing
I
again, right?
appreciate it. Yeah, thank you for letting me outroll you on that. And then my other question would be, speaking of the map, do you have a certain area of it that you want to focus on, whether it be in the book that's releasing with the Kickstarter or the adventures that you write? Is there
Mm.
like if you were to think Forgotten Realms, a lot of people would think Waterdeep or something where
Oh yeah.
like a centralized location. Is there like
Yeah.
is there like a Waterdeep of
Yeah, yeah.
Clockworld?
I there's three major towns that are big hubs, and
Okay.
traveling between them is always going to be dangerous in some way. So,
Mm-hmm.
in the south is Détrempé, which is like New Orleans. It's going to be vibrant and seedy and muggy and hot, and there's riverboats and gators, and that I just love that. So, adventures around that area, letting me draw on Creole myth, for example, for
Okay.
monster design, being inspired by that. Like a really obscure monster is the Latiche, which is a were-gator witch, for lack of a better way to summarize that quickly. So that space is really cool on the south coast. Langstrom City is like the big city. So when you want to have an intrigue in a town-based campaign, it's a pre-calamity city. Like this never fell in the apocalypse. And so it's got families that have lived there since before the calamity. Old
Oh
money
wow.
actually still exists there, right? Because it held on. Um, so that's in the center. And then in the north, cities like Webenigon, which are on a lake and in the shadow of a big mountain range, are good for wilderness exploration adventures because there's a dark mountain with woods right above. Very much it's where you can tell stories like Appalachian stories,
Okay.
drawn on that sort of thing. A lot of Algonquin-based myth I've been inspired for that region specifically, the Algonquin language group, which is more northern United States into Canada. Uh, so those are like the three major places that I always think about. Those three big cities.
Very
But
cool.
honestly, I'm going to see where the wind takes me on inspiration.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, we'll see. The rule book itself will just flesh out as all the towns really in all these locations as at least a
Okay.
starting point. Um, I like when a rulebook has all of its major lore, like all the world building in one section, so you can skip it if you don't care.
Yeah.
Um, and then the character creation, which you can see in the Kickstarter preview thing that you have up,
Mm-hmm.
there's just like tidbits of world building to get you started, right? The more
Yeah.
bite size. But yeah, there'll be pages of like, here's this town, and who's the mayor of this town, and who's the governor of this region, and that'll all be in there too.
So, as a content creator, what do you find the most fulfilling? Do you the creating the rules and the guidelines, the lore, the monsters, the options? Is there a particular part of it that you find the most fascinating or um, that gets I don't want to say most of your attention, but that you just
Yeah.
seem to be like, I really love creating lore for this setting, or I really love
Yeah.
the rule part.
It's monsters, hands down.
Yeah.
I love monster design. It's
Okay.
shocking, right?
Yeah.
And the research I do for
Hmm.
monsters is really interesting. I read lots of books. Like I purposely had some here just so I could cite them.
Oh
Like,
yeah, yeah. Cycle through them.
so this book, which I hopefully doesn't come, Never Whistle at Night, is an indigenous dark fiction anthology, all written by indigenous authors.
Nice.
And so reading their voices and the stories from their culture. And this is contemporary. These are living people writing these, right?
Hmm.
Just gets my imagination going in such new ways that more like like we could say Western or European horror never really tuned me into. And so reading through this, and here's another great one on for monster design specifically. This is the big book of Native American myths and legends, which are transcriptions of firsthand stories. So,
Okay.
like, they aren't, it's not a scholarly retelling. It is literally written out what they went and recorded in like from the 1940s to 1970s. And there's just incredible stuff in here. So, like, in one myth, there's this concept of like a rolling head of somebody killed who was killed unjustly, like their head rolls and tries to rejoin their family and kill them or something. I'm like, whoa, like writing that down. My goodness, what excellent horror. So getting to read horror and the mythologies of different people who made up the West, right? Not just like the European settlers, has been really rewarding. And also, I get to make gruesome stuff like blood oilers and stuff, right? It's just, or like the Arizona tenor, which is a tuberculosis banshee, basically. It's like I just get to make stuff like that, and that's super fun.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, I love monsters.
For those of you that are just joining us or watching this on repeat, this is a conversation with Peter from Tales from Elsewhere YouTube channel. The Kickstarter has launched today, Tales from Elsewhere World Clockworld, a fantastic Western-based post-apocalyptic horror. It's got a lot of titles.
It's got all the words.
And with that being said, Frank says, how do you feel knowing that you're almost already 50% funded on Kickstarter?
Yeah, I mean, it's like gone up 1% or 2 since we started this call.
Yes.
It's very surreal and wonderful and overwhelming. My initial projection was I was going to be overjoyed if I got 25% in the first 24 hours. We're way past that now. Yeah. So it's amazing. It feels really good, especially because the support of the community is where the success is coming from, right? I didn't like dump a lot of money into advertising, to be perfectly honest with everybody watching. Like I didn't spend a lot of money on that. Instead, I've just been out here with people and running games and talking to making friends, and the community's been so supportive. So that's where the success is coming from, and that feels really good. Yeah. Like I didn't buy, like you know what I mean, like because you could like pay a lot of money to like have tons of like ads running everywhere. Like I could buy a TV spot or something. I don't know.
A billboard.
Right. Yeah. It's yeah. I mean, I'm in Southern California. There's a lot of traffic that would go by a billboard. There you go. But what makes it feel really special is the community support in that regard. Just feels great. More so than the dollar amount. It's like where the dollars have come from, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And I seen that. I was watching your live stream this morning, and I could see that there are a tremendous amount of YouTubers that are supporting you and helping everything else. And I just think that's fantastic when you see the community come together like that. Even just in our game at Gen Con, to see what his tabletop was there, and everybody that was there, it was great. So
it was so fun.
Fantastic to see. So I do want to ask, so speaking of that, and we're going to probably be wrapping up here very, very shortly, but do you have any future plans of running other games at conventions?
Oh, I would love to.
Okay.
So we only did one convention this year. I'd love to do Gen Con and maybe PAX Unplugged next year as well. I have local conventions that go 3 times a year that are just a drive away from me, which are way more convenient for me to go and run games. But I love playing in convention games and running convention games in general. So, oh, don't worry, you'll hear if I'm going to be at a convention we're both at, and I'm going to run more games.
Sounds good.
It's super fun. I love running a one shot with friends, basically, right? Super fun.
Absolutely. Anytime you're in the Midwest, be sure to get a hold of me.
It's all happening out there. I have lots of family out that way, so it's not a bad excuse to head out.
There you go.
The Midwest.
Very good. So once again, this is Tales from Elsewhere, Clockworld. Any last thoughts before you go? Anything that I missed as far as asking that you want to folks to know about this fantastic game before we go?
No, that was awesome. I've been giving one warning to everybody though. If you're international, not in the United States, and shipping just suddenly became extremely expensive to anywhere outside of the United States. So if you are looking to support us, that's great. If you're outside the US, do consider just going PDF. Our estimates of the price increase of shipping out of the US is just astronomical right now. Hopefully that'll change. But EU or people outside the US, my friends, please take care of your finances and double check what things would look like to ship to your country. So when in doubt, go PDF, because all of the stretch goals, if we do hit them, are digital. So you'll get every stretch goal, even if you don't get a physical copy. So word of warning, international friends, be cautious.
Awesome. And any quick shout outs to your team?
Well, I don't know if they're still in chat, but yeah. So we saw Tim and Daniel were both in the chat earlier. So and there's also Zachary, who isn't really like part of the social media, but helps on the website. So I have a group of friends that have been helping me this whole time. I'm
Awesome.
like several people in a trench coat, right?
Yeah.
I'm the one on camera, but I have people helping me
That's good.
along the way. And especially this Kickstarter campaign was the last week was crazy. The hours we put into it due to through nobody's really fault, we got some assets in late. And so we were burning the midnight oil the last week to get everything
Oh,
ready.
yeah.
And so I really appreciate the guys who are backing me up. We're always watching. I
We're
see
always
Tim
watching.
just, we're always watching. Tim is the MVP. He edited the trailer, right? He's the
Nice
one who
job, Tim.
animated that
That was a
trailer.
kick-ass trailer, man. Well done.
So good.
That was
So
really good.
MVPs. Oh, they're
Yep.
both here still. Awesome. Well, you
Yep.
guys are great. You know you're
Yep.
great.
Yeah. Yeah. Well done, you guys. All
Yeah.
right.
Go team.
Very good. Well, thank you very much for joining me. Good luck on the Kickstarter, and I look forward to playing this again, or maybe running a game at some point in the future. So,
And thank you for having me on.
yep. And once again, thank you to everybody in the chat. I appreciate you being here. Thanks for the support. All of the information that you need to know to back this Kickstarter is in the description below. Please click the links. And for that, we are out of here. So take care, everybody, and on to the next.